Hello, I'm Jeff Warren. I do the Daily Trip at Calm, and I wanted to share with you a conversation that I just had with Matthew McConaughey, the Academy Award winning actor. Pretty amazing fellow, has a foundation called Just Keep Living. That's all about helping high school students. He wrote a best-selling book, Green Lights, and now he's just written this children's book called Just Because. So in our conversation, we go into stuff around parenting, things that he does to keep his kids on track, how he learns from his kids, what he offers to teenagers, how he's dealt with challenges in his life. I mean, we kind of went all over the place, and I thought it was an inspiring conversation, so enjoy. Can you hear me, Matthew?
I can.
So good to meet you.
Hey, you too now. You too.
So you just published your first kids book. Congratulations. It's a very interesting subject, all about how we live with contradiction, how to live with paradox, sort of getting past the either or way of thinking to more of a both and. Can you tell us a little bit about where that book came from?
Yeah. So I'm a parent like you. I've got 3 children. You know, they're seeing everything for the first time, every day, every time. And one was different than 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. I got a 10-year-old now, a 13-year-old, and a 15. Boy, the 2, the 13, and the 15, this is a whole new scenario of measurements, of moving through life and options and consequences and choices. And being a parent and being the best dad I can be is always on my mind. And I had a dream one night. Woke me up at 2:30 in the morning, and I thought it was a Bob Dylan rap ditty. And I was like, you know, just because they threw the dart don't mean that it's stuck. And just because that you got skills don't mean you got no luck. And it was dun 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 dun. Dun. And so I woke up and I started that was the hook, the just because, and that was the ditty. And the theme was the contradictions, the paradox that, hey, you know, you can have, this can be true and this can be true. 2 things can be true at the same time. They usually are. And as I wrote them all down from 2:30 to 6:30 in the morning, I looked at what I'd written at 6:30 and I was like, that's a good song. I went back to sleep, woke up at 10 a.m. and looked at it again and you know, gave it the 4-hour sleep on it pressure test. And I was like, I think that's still a good song. And then I looked at some of the couplets and I was like, you know what? I think this could be valuable to some young people. This would be valuable for my kids to talk about these scenarios where 2 things can be true, to talk about, you know, when the kids are feeling pressure to be absolute about something, and that is just the way it is. And now, okay, it's black and white, that's it. No. You know, as we mature, we start to see whether you call it compromise or the shades of gray, or whether you call it actual, the real truth lives in that paradox where you understand both things, 2 things can be true at the same time, and still are able to make a choice and have a judgment, but recognize that 2 things can be true. You can have dueling feelings at the same time. And the recognition of this, I think, for young people, and I know even for myself, admitting that that's true, pops the proverbial balloon on the pressure to feel like I must know exactly how to feel, and it can only be that way forever. And that's what the book's about. It's showing hopefully that the life's poetic. It's got innuendo. It's got context. You can feel this way today and that way tomorrow. You can bogey today and birdie tomorrow. You know, you can at the same time have two dueling feelings, and to recognize that takes a lot of pressure off, and I think helps us all deal with it better.
Are you a meditation teacher? Because everything you just said it basically distills a whole school of contemplative thinking in meditation about exactly what you're saying about, first of all, that wisdom is about being okay with paradox, but that the fixation on one thing needing to be right is what closes us up to whole realms of experience. That's how consciousness works.
Amen.
So you're proposing that you can bring that into kids as well, which is just amazing medicine.
Well, in a digestible, fun way. And, you know, the fact that it rhymes and it has a little rhythm and it has good pictures with it where hopefully the kids can see themselves in the scenario. You know, I did have to think about, you know, who am I talking to? And is it a younger audience? Because, you know, as I like to say, if you're going to teach something, the best way to teach is to be most understood. Now, you and I may have a different conversation and make up different couplets than if it was you and I talking without any youngsters around than we would if we were talking to a younger audience. And at the same time, I noticed when I went through these couplets with my kids, each one of them had a different scenario where they saw themselves in the same couplet, saw themselves. And I was forced to talk to them about my own experience is in my life. And my wife had different ones than I did. And so it became a real conversation piece that was not only, I think, good for my children, it was good for Camilla and I as well.
Yeah, you must have learned something about your kids through going through that.
Yeah, I mean, especially they're coming upon the time now where, oh, I got to make a choice with my time. They're only given 24 hours in a day. And as far as I can tell, they're not given any more. How do I manage my time? I have this interest. I have this interest. I have school. I have this sport. I have this hobby. Oh my gosh, I can't do them all at once. Okay, I have to. There's consequences. It's in exchange. What do I want more? I'm going to have to sacrifice this to do more of this. And having conversations with them about, well, try it out. For instance, go play this sport to my daughter. Hey, I'm not asking you to be a pro. I'm not asking you to go play it so you're like, this is what I've got to do in life. No, just go try it out and give it your best effort and give it a few weeks or give it a semester and let's see. And if we want to change your mind, we can. Just that, you see their shoulders go, oh, okay. And I think there's so many children now especially are being told, you need to know what you want to do. Right now, earlier, get ahead, figure out what you want to do. And a lot of children are skipping being a child when it's time to try things out, and have some experiences to mess up, to put your foot in your mouth, but to have tried, to go, whoop, I was too scared, I was too shy. Okay, thank you for admitting that,
Yeah. Yeah, it's open-ended experimentation. It's like being a little scientist or a little empiricist. Like try it out for yourself, experiment, see what works. How would you know what's going to work if you haven't been there yet?
And the world does it to children. It does it to us adults. It's constantly making us feel like to fail, dun 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 dun, to not hit the mark, to not hit what you aim for, is reason to be embarrassed, is reason to deem yourself a failure. And for instance, to fail and the difference between to fail and being a failure. I had that couplet in there about, just because you're crying doesn't mean, just because you're wailing doesn't mean you're a crier. Just because you lied doesn't mean you're a liar. You can fail, and that's different than saying you're a failure.
Exactly.
You can tell a fib, an untruth. That doesn't necessarily mean you're a liar. And we have to watch branding others, and we have to watch branding ourselves. And being able to forgive ourselves and go, I didn't hit the mark on that one. So do I go back and try it again? Yes. But if I'm saying I'm a failure instead of, I failed this time, now, that's a weight on a child.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a part of my character. That's who I am. No.
Yeah, just because you're sad doesn't mean you're depressed. Just because you got angry doesn't mean you're an angry person. But yet that's what we have, those experiences, and we think that all of a sudden this defines us. And all of a sudden now we're living with these blinkers, the set of limitations, this idea of what we can and can't do.
I think that's, we talk about it for children. I think it's something us adults could work on better too, is we love labeling someone. I learned that liar one from I think it was from my mom, and I was about 10. And I called, someone had told me, someone had fibbed to me, and I called him a liar. And the person got very defensive, and it broke our friendship up. And I had labeled him a liar, and that person was he wasn't a perpetual liar. He got away with a fib one time, and I noticed when I came back later on, my mom helped me come back to this person and go, hey, I apologize for calling you a liar, because you're actually not a liar. You lied to me one time, and you've come to me and said, I'm sorry about the fib. and you haven't lied to me since. Okay, forgiven. It's wrong of me to call you a liar. You know what? I've done it too. You're right. And I don't consider myself a liar. I mean, I've lied and bullshitted and this and that and the other, but I don't consider myself a liar. Okay, there's a difference. And that's how we kind of came back together to have a friendship. But you label somebody, a proper noun, a liar, instead of, oh, no, that moment you lied. And if they want retribution, they come to you and go, I'm sorry about that, and they don't keep doing it, and it's not a part of their character, the only way that they're going to be able to have a conversation, or you're going to come back together, is if you deem the singular circumstance and not put a character blanket on them. Because, boy, people will get defensive and kind of hole up and just want to fight to get out of the hole if you label them completely.
Was that your family culture to have that kind of openness, or is that something you worked at on your own?
Family culture in our family was very open. I mean, it was so open that you were not allowed to go to bed unless everyone was forgiven in our household.
Oh, wow.
There's a rule: you cannot go to bed with a grudge against anyone in the family. And there were nights where we were still up as a family discussing something, and it was time to take a shower to go to school.
No kidding, really?
No kidding. It was
Wow.
We are not. No one's going to bed laying their head on a pillow holding a grudge against anyone in the family. We will hash this out, no matter how long it takes. It was an awesome rule. It took my parents a lot of time. I'm learning it now as I'm trying to practice it with my family. You know, there's some times you're like, I just want to go to sleep. Let's stay up and hash this out and work on it as much as possible, and pick it up and continue sometimes even after school. But I think it was a healthy practice, and I learned it from my family.
There's so much emphasis now on mental health in schools and learning mindfulness and emotional regulation. Do you talk about that with your kids?
We don't necessarily talk about that. We don't use the term that of mental health. How is your mental health? Look, we want to keep our body healthy as possible. We want to watch what we eat, what we put into our body. We want to keep our spirit as healthy as possible, and that's a much more oblique topic. It's because that's not just measurable, but we talk about that, and that's a lot through gratitude and prayer or meditation, or again, gratitude, sort of the halo in our family for that, which leads to the spirit. And then mind. We want to keep our mind in shape. When we talk about how, it's an awesome day because we can talk about how to keep the mind in shape, where that didn't just something that no one else used to talk about. I know when I was growing up, the mind was, you went to the gym, but you didn't go work out your mind. You weren't concerned with how your thoughts were. But then, you go back. I remember my mom passed on a book to us kids, As a Man Thinketh. That's sort of mental health work. A book of what we've always talked about that. What you think is what you will start to believe and will lead to how you behave. So sometimes, we all have bad days. Camilla has this great question for the kids if they're in a pickle or they're confused or frustrated or sad. She's like, okay, how big is the thorn? Give me a rose of the day and give me a thorn of the day. Because are we optimists in our family? Absolutely. But we don't want to be foolish optimists. We want to say, we got thorns every day too. And it's part of admitting that. It's not just all roses, but let's talk about a thorn too. And if you can't think of one, oh, come on. Couldn't have been just the perfect day, was it? Okay, well, maybe it was. Or they'll come up with something. How could it have been better? What's the thorn? And then how big is the thorn? And usually it's smaller than they think it was at the time. We have I think ritual, which is very hard. It's always been hard. I think it's a challenge for Americans, but I also think it's a challenge for today societies. We're so mobile. It's also a challenge, particularly in my family, because my work takes us different places, and the kids have different interests, and my mom's living with us, so it's easy to get spread out. But the ritual of sitting around for dinner, without any media, without any phones, everything, and we're going to sit around and we're going to talk, and we're going to say our graces. We're going to go around the horn, say what we're thankful for, and in our family, it's thank you God. what we're thankful for in our day, from the simplest thing to this food to something beautiful that happened today, or that Malmac, won in Mahjong, whatever it may be. We're gonna talk about something we're thankful for, and then we're gonna have an open conversation and about our day and our interest. And a good friend of mine, who's parented a few girls out, really well, he parented them well, and they're now out of his house, told me a few weeks ago, he was like, boy, these teenage years, do what you can to keep access. Just a conversation, because it's so easy these years for them to hold up, want to go shut the door, don't want to share anything, and hey, I'm 15 now, and when I'm 19, I'll come back and tell you, I think now I understand why you were right, but for the next 5 years, I'm shutting you out. I'm like, oh, can we keep some access? And the ritual of dinner, and having an open conversation in ways where at the dinner table, Camilla and I are not there to judge. We're not there to teach at the dinner table. We're there to keep it as free and open as possible. And it may lead to a conversation later, a deeper conversation with a one-on-one, or Camilla and I with one of them, or all three of them, about something, about, hey, so what did you think about that? I heard you talking about this. How's that going? What's the consequences going to be, good or bad, going forward? But the dinner ritual is open conversation. And I think that's something that's very healthy for their minds. And we talk about this, the tricky part, where you start the day, you notice it when you come out of bed. What'd you notice? As my mom said, do you notice the rose in the vase or the dust on the table? Sometimes we wake up and we're noticing the dust on the table. And the next thing you notice is that you don't like your tennis shoes, your shoelaces got a little dirt on. And then all of a sudden you're compounding these assets to the negative. And you're all of a sudden stuck in like, I'm having a crappy day. And you're like, this all started with being a hair sleepy and having just a bit of a twitch about my toast being too crunchy. So let's go back and deconstruct where this started and call BS on it and cut this off before it gets going too far.
So do you ever talk with them about how you get stuck in those loops, or the challenges that you have or mistakes that you make, and how you kind of back out of it? Are they conversational partners around with that kind of privacy?
Yeah, they do. They remind me, to actually sometimes spend a little more time in what makes me uncomfortable. Because I have a habit of blowing through resistance and discomfort, because I'll immediately see that, I'm not, it's not, I'll deem it meritless quicker than most, I would say. And I think that's very good in a lot of times. I think a lot of, as I talk about in the book Green Lights, there's a lot of red lights we just shouldn't give credit. Or a lot of yellow lights we should just blow through them. Sometimes we give too much credit to something, and we feel like we maybe need to sit down and wallow in it, or we feel like we need to get therapy about it. And sometimes no, don't give that credit. Deny that. Don't give that thing the time of the day. Other times you do need to stop and go, I need to sit in this a minute, do some inventory. I have a habit of blowing through a lot of them. Yeah. And hence I can be a repeat offender.
Yeah, it's very easy to ignore signals coming from your body, ignore signals coming from all kinds of places, because sometimes you need to, but other times they're trying to tell you something.
I'll come back and step in the same pile of over and over and over again, and just clean myself off, and I have to be reminded, hey, you want to stop for a second and see why you keep stepping in that so you don't do it again? Oh yeah, good idea. My kids actually remind me of that, because they're going through things, as we said earlier, for the first time every time. So you want to sit there and let's talk about that. How important is that? And why is that important? Are we giving that too much importance? So they actually remind me to deconstruct a little more, even in my life sometimes, to, not to wallow in it, but to give it to more consideration, and then decide, is there something I need to change in my life to lessen that discomfort? Or is that just part of life? Sometimes that I find is the answer. And that's our conversation. Some of this stuff is like, everybody, welcome to life. That's part of the deal.
Exactly.
And admitting that, again, that life is not one big rose. And if it was, it would just be entertainment. and we wouldn't evolve, right? We wouldn't grow. And that when those thorns come,
No
you
edge.
talk to the kids, you're going, okay, oh, what am I going to do here? This is not how I planned it. It's not what I wanted, but I got a problem solved. And to admit that that's part of life, all of a sudden allows, I've noticed my kids and even me, allows me to go, ooh, okay. How are we going to deal with this? Instead of, which I've still working on this habit, of going, boy, when life's going really well, and I'm catching all green lights, we start to think, I found the mean. I'm on it. This is how it is. And then, boop, something happens. You hit a yellow light, it goes down, you hit a snare, and you're like, what happened? Where did I fail? Oh my God. Yeah.
I had to figure it out.
It's arrogant of us to go, where did I fail? So many times. It's like, no, welcome to life, buddy. And so we talk with the kids, and in doing that, it helps. I know it helps me too, to realize when the challenges come to go, howdy. L-I-F-E, life. We're living. That's what we're doing. This is part of it. And I deal with it better. And the kids deal with it better, I think, when you go, no, that's part of the game. That's part of the admission.
Exactly.
If you have any ambition.
The salt and the stew. Yeah. Learning to be okay with discomfort. With a certain amount of discomfort that's part of maturity. And it's that can be a very hard thing to swallow for some people, because some people are in a lot of discomfort.
And the discomfort, it's a much easier and I think constructive conversation when we're talking about discomforts that come that are not a natural law in our life, that's going to be a fact forever. But because on the other side, you talk to someone, because when you talk about those, you talk about the future. You try to teach delayed gratification. Hey, this too shall pass, and that helps. But you talk to someone who's in absolute misery, and you want to talk to them about projecting to tomorrow, they don't see that far. They're like, I am in pain, severe pain right now, and I looked forward to tomorrow yesterday, and I'm still in it. And I looked forward to tomorrow last week, and I'm still in it. It's much more difficult. It's a different conversation.
So you're actually getting at something that I was thinking about when I was, listening to conversations that you had about green lights and getting to know you better. I love how principled you are, and I love how the emphasis you have on values and kind of the exploration of finding your own values, and how important that is, like who you're becoming, and what you're aiming for. And at the same time, in my world, I work with a lot of people, and what you're describing, who are in a lot of pain or in a lot of suffering, and it seems like they're taking it day by day. And I was thinking, about that interplay between having a set of values that you're aiming for, having the advantage, the privilege of being able to enact those values or finding those values when in every day if you're really hurting.
You're trying to survive. Yeah.
You're just trying to survive. And it's like, that's where certain issues of practice, it's like, this is an emergency. Like, how do we work right now with our own experience? How do we find a way to shift how we're relating into it? How do we relieve the intensity so that we can come back into a space where we can find those values? Because it's very hard to be your best self inside that kind of situation. So I wanted to ask you about that and see, what your advice is for people in that situation, or what you learned yourself, or.
Well, I mean, we could go on, and I sure don't have the answer. I've got some things that have, where I've been in a rut and needed to, found such a balance in the rut that I was like, I need to get off balance. I'm getting, my heels are digging in the ground in this rut. I'm starting to get comfortable in a not healthy way, where I've had to throw myself off balance to get out of that rut. I've had to change the people I was hanging around with before, because I needed new scenery. I needed a new lens. I needed new conversations. I've had groups where I've been, and when I left, I enjoyed it while I was there, but I always woke up the next day kind of like going, I didn't really leave that place better than I found it. I'm not any better today than I was last night with that group. I'm kind of got a hangover, and I didn't even have anything to drink. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to cease some friendships. I've also done the really hard thing. I mean, look, for me, road trips have been very important. I'll hit the road on my own. It's lonely. I get halfway to my destination, I'm missing home. Oh, just I want to belittle my problem. It's not a problem. It's just in your head. No. Let's turn around. I've learned that. Keep going. Keep going. Don't worry about time. Don't worry about all those comforts back there that you're going to go back and compromise again. Keep going. Go through the discomfort. And when the discomfort comes, when we're alone, whatever that is, a trip we take for ourselves, a walkabout, a road trip, a meditation, a retreat on our own, in these times when we're not comfortable or we're in a rut, we do not like the company that we are keeping. Us. It usually for me is about 12 days. And it's almost a purge. In the first 12 days, when I need to go on a walkabout with myself when I'm in a rut, is I got to get the monkeys off my back, the demons out of my head. My thought process is I cannot stand it. I cannot stand my company. Let's draw some blood. Me on me. I'm mean to myself. I'm condemning myself and for everything. In some places that I should, and many places that I shouldn't. Arrogance.
Yeah, brother.
Of guilt in places that it's like, I learned later, where do you get off being judge and jury on that? Again, welcome to human life. Now, what happens, the days are long. Those first 12 days are long. You think it's lunchtime and it's 9 a.m. You think it's you're ready to go to bed and it's 5 o'clock and you're like, oh, can this day? Why is it so long? Because you're not enjoying the company and you're anticipating getting out of it, or when is this going to end? And then for me, usually around that 2 week point, 12 days or so, I guess I've had enough of it, and I can say enough's enough, and I have a realization that, hey, buddy. Yeah, I'm calling you buddy, Matthew. It's me and you, no matter who we're with. I'm stuck with you, you son of a bitch. You're the only one I can't get rid of. You mother, you-know-water. So if we're going to do this, let's figure out a way to get along. So let's figure out what we're going to forgive, and let's figure out what we're going to say, no more of that. That's not feeding you. I'm tired of that. Don't eat that apple again if you know it's poison. Cut it out. It hasn't fed you. You keep trying to make it feed you. You keep thinking it's going to be good for you, and it's not. Stop it. So, and then I forgive myself. I have some grace on some other sides, and then I make some changes, and then all of a sudden, re-enter society and have reconstituted my values a bit. And the re-entry's tough as well, but the re-entry is very exciting. Because you like we were talking about earlier with children, it's the first time every time. You start going through life having first time experiences again and interactions, and your thought process is different, where when you said yes in that scenario 15 times in a row in your past, this time you go, no, thank you. And then people are like, what? You go, no. And you know I know I'm investing in myself. Now I feel like I'm building something. I feel like I'm having a rebirth. And that's the main thing that has helped me, those walkabouts on my own.
Have you ever had to ask for help when you've been out in the wilderness there, or even before you left?
Oh, yes. For me, it's a very spiritual experience. My knee is bent daily, and I am bowing, asking for not to get it over with, but to please keep me in a place. Give me the courage to persist on this journey, Give me the trust to believe that there is light on the other side of this darkness, and give me the patience and the conscience to listen to myself, to hear myself, to let my memory catch up, and to know what matters when it comes in. And you know how it is. It's two things. If it's not all seek. You know, because if you seek, you're seeing signs in everything.
Yeah.
and you're immobilized by the signs. They're just everywhere. You know, you'll implode. But it is, I believe, put yourself in a position, that's the seek, to let it come and land. Like that little butterfly that just as it lands on you, it lightning bolt right through your heart. You're like, whoa. And you know, that's a natural law. That's a truth that I cannot argue with. That will be true for all time, no matter how much you want to argue with it. Engrave that
Fundamental.
one.
That's it. Fundamental. Well, that's meditation too. Boom. That's a fundamental true thing. It lands in your belly. You know. Maybe you can't find words for it, but you know.
But you know. Physiologically, you know. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So just keep living foundation. These principles we're talking about, these values, this way of approaching life, you don't want to keep it right in here. And you're like, I'm spreading this out. And I guess that's part of your work, part of your philosophy. Can you tell us a bit about the work you do with the foundation, the philanthropy, the emphasis on giving back, because it seems pretty central to your mission and who you are?
Sure. The Just Keep Living Foundation is something Camille and I founded, I think, over 12 years ago. It's an after-school curriculum. It's a few hours after school in Title I schools, which are the lower income schools with 50% dropout rates. It's a few hours after school for these young people to go and have a safe place. They come in setting a physical fitness goal, whether that's, hey, I want to be able to run enough to try and make the soccer team next year. Okay, we'll help you reach that goal. Or maybe it's, hey, I want to lose 3 pounds and fit in the prom dress. Okay, we're going to help you meet that goal. Nutritional goals. Okay, Mom, you bought 5 burgers and fries for dinner last night for $52. We got no problem against burgers and fries. We're gonna take you to the supermarket and spend that $50 on vegetables, rice, maybe some meat, and you're gonna come home, you're gonna cook together with the family a more healthy meal, and it may even cost less than that $52. So nutrition on a budget. Also community service. All the students have to give back. To be in the curriculum, the Just Keep Living curriculum, you have to give back to your own community. 100%. This is their favorite thing, and I was flabbergasted because they're up at 4:30 cleaning a beach or packing something up for the troops or somewhere, and I'm like, I don't think I would have given my Saturday morning to do that when I was a kid, but they love it because it gives them the ownership, and they know they're not just receiving, right? They're not just getting something. They're able to go. And that boomerang of giving back, which we sometimes brush over, and we think, no, everyone wants a free lunch. No, they don't. Oh, yeah. They want to be cooking too. And then the final, we have a gratitude circle where everyone sits around and after every class and says something out loud they're thankful for. And this is sort of, in a way, my kind of favorite part about the curriculum because, I don't know, it's a form of what I was raised doing around the table before we eat a meal. It's a form of what my family and I do now before a meal. And I realized when we first introduced it to the classes, saying thank you in front of your friends for something is not cool. So they would all just kind of mumble, like, yeah, I'm thankful to Just Keep Living class. And the next one would repeat the same thing. Oh, I'm thankful to Just Keep Living class. And we were like, hey, hang on. I was like, look, are y'all feeling like y'all need to say something really important? They were like, yeah. I was like, okay. You don't have to say something important. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I go, well, I'm thankful, man. I woke up this morning, I got a big wet smooch from my wife before I got out of bed. And they're like, ooh, ah. And I was like, yeah. You can be, so we lighten the load, right?
Of course. You don't make it into some big thing, some pressure to get the right thing. It can be small things. They can work up to it. They can show we see each other starting to,
So they started saying thank you for this, and I'm thankful, someone saying I'm thankful because I'm looking so hot today and my haircut's so sharp, and I'm thankful Halloween's coming up because I'm going to get candy, blah, 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 blah. But what this did, we noticed a month later, is these same kids started sharing those big things. That my grandmother got out of the hospital. That my sister graduated and got a job. That my mom got her health back. And so they started sharing these things. And when we asked the children, what's your favorite thing about the gratitude circle? They said a very cool thing. Over and over, they said, because for the first time in my life, I'm hearing my peers say thank you for something in their life that I have in my life that I've never stopped to say thank you for. That reciprocity makes us really full. So that's what our program does. We're in 44 schools in the U.S. and expanding as needed, as we can, and in the quality we have a pretty strict quality control, on as far as what the curriculum is doing, and it's working, and that's what the foundation is. That's what Just Keep Living.
Amazing. Just when you were talking about the gratitude practice you have them do, there's a really important practice in Buddhism called mudita, and it means participatory joy. It's like a Pali word, and what it is it's about basking in pleasure in other people's success, thinking about other people enjoying themselves or grateful for something or having success, and you just take a moment to take a few beats to feel that reflective pleasure that it gives you. And so it's a practice of being grateful for, you articulate your gratefulness, but then you're receiving other people's gratitude for what they're grateful for. And just like you say, it can lead to this kind of cascade of insights about where it helps you see things in your life that you hadn't noticed before. Very beautiful practice.
That's a really good reminder, because we have such a tendency, children and adults, to feel good about ourselves when who we see is when someone else misses their shot, even more so than we feel good about when we make our shot.
Totally. It's like, yeah. Okay, that's human too. Part of that's funny, and part of that is not so funny. Pretty mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so that's an antidote, it's an antidote to that. But it's like you say, it's a practice. You got to get over it. Because at first you're really self-conscious. Oh my God, sharing something like that in that space with other people around, where there's this idea of what cool is, got to be like this, can't show, got to keep it, always got to keep it down. So that's the vulnerability, when you work with teens in meditation, it's like the armor. It's just armor. They just walk in, they're just like friggin' Iron Man. And then slowly, bit by bit, they learn to de-armor. They learn that actually, if they're vulnerable in front of each other, maybe they'll be okay. A little bit more okay every time. And then who comes out? Wow, I don't even know. It's like a mystery walking out of the commode, something magical. It's all those things.
Yeah, well, it feels good, and it feels good to hear them be thankful for it. And then come tell us certain things like that Camille and I overlooked when we created the foundation. We wanted it to be all those things that I said to you, and it is those. But then, still to this day, when we ask them, what's your favorite thing about the class, some of them say the very basic thing of, I finally have a safe place to go after school.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, we didn't even think of that.
Wow.
Oh, okay. And that's an essential byproduct. What were you doing? Well, I always go home, sit on the couch, watch TV. Or I would make sure I got home as quick as I could to get inside because I heard gunshots outside through. Or every time I go home and I was getting picked on, and I was getting bullied, and this gang member was doing this to me. Oh, we didn't even realize that. And that was an essential byproduct that the class and Just Keep Living is helping with.
Did you create the foundation for teens because you had kids that age at that time, or what was it about that specific group that you wanted to help?
It was because I knew I wanted it to be incentive-based, and I knew I wanted it to be prevention before cure, which led me to kids.
Yes.
Right? So then I started studying kindergarten, elementary, middle school, and high school. And we ended up on high school because for myself and people that I interviewed, I was like, man, that's the last bridge where you still have a principal, a teacher, a parent. And as soon as you're out of that, you're a young adult. So you're an individual. there are laws, but if you mess up, you're not getting grounded or getting dehaul or demerits. You may be going to jail or worse. So we deemed it as the time to catch young people where if you're on the right path, okay, let's compound that, what you're doing, and get you prepared for the future. If you're on the wrong path, hey, it's the last time. We're coming up on a chapter end here. Let's get you on the right path for going forward here. And what are you going to do? What can you do now to give you the best opportunity to do the most for yourself when you get out of here?
Mm-hmm. Wow, I love how you strategize that. I mean, you thought it through, like, where is the leverage point? If I'm going to make the biggest impact on a human being's life, what point of life? Where's the leverage point? That's amazing.
And then it was also the Title I schools, which were the young people that seemed to need it the most, that needed the guidance, that needed the place, that needed the goals, that needed the gratitude, that needed to feel the dignity of being able to serve. And that was a strategy, and it feels like it was the right one.
And what have you found? I mean, what are the reports? What do people say about how it's affected their lives?
A lot of it's simple things like self-confidence, community. Again, hearing people say have things in their life that they're grateful for that they were taken for granted. Hearing others have similar problems and challenges that they have, that just to hear, oh, you too, makes them take a breath and be able to go, oh, I thought it was just me. Because what always happens when we're going through something tough, we think we're the center of the universe and we're the only one
exactly.
ever felt this way.
Exactly. And that's part of what compounds the misery, of course, because now you're isolating yourself as well. So not only are you miserable with what's going on, the second arrow is that you're also isolating yourself, imagining you're the only one who ever dealt with this.
Yeah, so they're finding that community of the gratitude, of the pain, of the challenges they're going through. Look, there's stories. There's of scholarships. Some of our students have gotten. There are stories of a student being in a gang and going down the wrong path and on drugs to becoming valedictorian, and then saying, the values and the life lessons and the choice-making paradigms that you all in the foundation Just Keep Living have helped me get access to, that I wasn't getting. I didn't know they were available. I didn't know that was an option. A lot of these children that we're working with, they haven't left their square blocks.
Yeah.
They only know what their big brother, who may be in a gang, was doing, and that's it. I mean, we took one of our schools in Venice, California. We took them on a field trip to the beach in Venice, California. And we had multiple students that were like, it was the first time they'd ever been. They lived 10 blocks from it.
Wow.
And they were like, wow, I had no idea. I've never seen the ocean. So with guest speakers and stuff, we're bringing people in that show them, hey, here's opportunities. And not just people that were born affluent and stayed affluent. We're bringing people that have messed up, have bogeyed, gone to jail, done time, and come out and say, hey, let me tell you, I was right. I can see it in your eyes, young man. I was where you were. Let me tell you, I know what you're thinking. It doesn't have residuals. It don't pay you back. Don't do it. So they're seeing people in places that are opening up opportunities in their minds, in their imagination of what's possible out there.
Oh, dude, I'm impressed. It's just wicked. That's kind of my fantasy, is to have a foundation to be able to support using kind of using creativity to support kind of early intervention things for spiritual health, whether you like the word or not, mental health, emotional health, but what's going to make this person a vibrant, full human being. And I imagine what you could drop into the middle of a school curriculum. You can keep your math, you can keep your geography, you keep your history, you keep your science, of course, all those things are important, but what if right in the middle of your curriculum was how to care for yourself and care for other people? And what would that look like at the center of your curriculum? How to care for your body, how to care for your mind, your soul, how to care for your community. If that was at the center, how would that change every other subject? It would be it's just like you drop that stone into the pond, the ripples Geography becomes the study of how other cultures support each other. History becomes how we learn from our mistakes. Science is the applied piece too, as much as the pure research around like how do we live more in harmony with nature, with our all of it. It would just, if you had that as the model in the center of your educational world, from the time you're in JK, and like the youngest kindergartners all the way through to end of high school, like, it would completely transform our entire understanding of who we are, how we approach knowledge. I mean, it's you're at the leverage point, is what I'm saying. It's right here. It's in the schools. And
my hunch is that, as you said, how to learn care for yourself and how to care for others. I'm a believer that when we really know how to care for ourselves, we inherently will care more for others.
Yeah.
It can be, I understand versions of selfishness, and then the word narcissism is thrown around, I think, a little too loosely today. I don't think people in general, kids, adults, hold ourselves in high enough regard.
Oh yeah.
Now, I don't mean the regard when you get into arrogance and mean-spiritedness and I will do this at the expense of my neighbor. No, that's not holding yourself in high enough regard. That's holding yourself in a lower regard. The higher regard, the higher plane, the higher ground is that place where what's best for me is actually best for the most amount of people. And that becomes a wonderful, healthy epidemic. And it's a redefinition of selfish, but selfish and selfless are not, kind of a just because, are not really contradictions.
Yeah. Is it because when you're really kind of connected to who you are, when you're really expressing what is to be expressed there, when you're really in flow in your life, what you're giving off is there's nothing that's going to help anyone around you more than that, in a sense. It's a quality of being a role model, of being how do you think about that? I mean, what's the magic there? Why does it have such a powerful, beneficial effect in your view?
Because everything's personal, and we can talk platitudes and global this, but until the problem trespasses on our self or our family or our property, 99% of us don't really do anything. And I think that's okay. I think it's true. I think it's part of who we are as a species. So let's lean into that. It needs to be more personal. So, as far as I know that when I have times of arrogance or being so self-involved that I'm blind to what others need, I'm not really being truly selfish. I'm actually being insecure. I'm being arrogant. I'm not being confident. I'm insecure about my future or what's out there. Or I don't have the bandwidth to care about you. And I'm not taking care of myself. I think I am. I'm basically holding my head above water. I'm in a spot where I'm trying to hold my head above water, but I'm trying to act like and think like, no, I am better than thou, which I'm not. And I understand when I'm in it, it's hard to see it. I understand shortly after I'm in it that I'm like, oh, you were fooling yourself to get out of that pickle. That wasn't true selfishness. That wasn't true self-worth. That wasn't true self-respect. And the fact that I know when I even service, we talk about the just keep living foundation, for instance. I've said it before, and someone's like, what do you mean that's selfish? It's very selfish. What do you mean? I go, when I hear these young people say, thank you, Miss McConaughey. Do you know how good that makes me feel? Me, personally, how good that makes me feel. That reciprocity, that what I put out went in and now got thrown back at me. Thank you. And I go, you're welcome. Thank you. I just had a personal experience with that feeling. Me, selfishly. So those are not a contradiction. I think that it's hard to see because we put them on two different planes. We go selfish, selfless, and it's just the two aren't in two different categories. When we're really there, they're the same category.
I'm with you. Well, dude, you just wrapped it up perfectly. You brought us right back to just because. You literally brought us perfectly back to the theme of your book, which is, helping kids learn that they can live in contradiction, and that life isn't an either or black and white situation. It's a both and both and as an outlook is good medicine. And you're good medicine, brother. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate being able to chat with you.
I enjoyed the chat, and thank you for having me and spending the time.
I'll just say one last thing. I think it's the 5-year anniversary of when you did a sleep story for Calm, which apparently has been an inspiration for a lot of people. So thank you for doing that. And is there any last, how about one McConaughey sentence of inspiration that people can take with them?
One McConaughey sentence of inspiration that you can take away. Oh. Just because you say it's so doesn't mean it happened to me. It's how I see it, how you see it, and what will come to be.
Nice. Here's the book, folks. Time to expand your kids' minds. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you. Thank you.